Hey y'all, this is Marie from our Okie Homestead. Um, Anybody can tell me if they hear me or not? Once I know that somebody can hear me and see me, then we'll go from there. But I just had been thinking about things for a while, and I've had some people leave comments about the costs of having horses. And it just got my mind to thinking about all the things through the years that I have done in order to save costs. And that's one of the things I want to be able to go over. Hey, Bud Files. The Bud Files, can you see me and hear me okay? Can you hear me okay, Rebecca? Can you tell if it's. I have somebody that has some experience with what I'm talking about, like me, and so she'll be coming up here in a minute. I just wish I knew for sure that I could actually be heard because I don't have my window open on YouTube to see. That ain't gonna work. Oh no, I did it the wrong place. I guess I'll just close that. Y'all bear with me for just a minute. I want to make sure before I get too far going. Okay. Now, now it sounds. Does anybody hear echo? Okay. So I know I can be heard. Mute this over here. All right. I'm sorry, y'all. It's been a few months since I've been on here and done this, and I'm not very proficient at it. So, what I want to talk about, because I've been all over social media. Dear husband got knocked over by the billy goat, broke his leg, and so he was setting up for a while, and I was doing his stuff, my stuff, and so I took a break from YouTube for the most part, and that was why. But in the meantime, when we're sitting and watching different shows he wanted to watch or whatever, I'm sitting, resting, whatever. I was on social media and all over social media between Facebook and YouTube and then TikTok, Twitter, well, X as they call it now. People are talking about this stuff and they're talking about how hard it is, especially some of the younger generation, talking about how hard it is to be able to save money. And so I thought, well, this would be a good thing for anyone with the experience of money being tight, which is, I'm sure, 99% of us, maybe 98 if there's another lucky 1%. I'm not really sure. I haven't really looked at those numbers. I just know money's tight. And this is not the first time that it's been this way. And so over the years, different things that I did to save money. My guest that I'm going to have coming up is Rebecca Touched by Yarn. And with her life experience, she's also going to give us some tips and advice on how to save money too. Because sometimes there's things that you may not think of, but when everybody starts putting their heads together, then we can think up even more ways to be able to cut costs, even if you can't save money and put money back, at least being able to cut costs and being able to put some groceries on the table is a big help. So I'm going to switch back over here. Oop, where'd she go? There we are. I'm going to switch back over here for a second, and I messed that up. I'm not switching anything. I'm just going to switch the screen and bring Rebecca up. There we go.
Hello, everyone. Trying to bring the volume down on my phone so it doesn't disturb us. But it makes me think of what I did when I first moved here to Missouri.
Hmm.
Of course, I lived with my parents until I was able to get some money. I was in Job Corps. And when you're in Job Corps, you also get paid, but part of that money is put into a account that you can't access. So I got a pretty good sized check and I was able to purchase a car, which I didn't have my license, but I was able to purchase a car. I was able to purchase a house, put a down payment on a house that I bought at 10% from an individual. And it had to be fixed up. So my parents helped me do that. I would buy the different things that I needed to do.
That
You know,
that
to
right there is an example of saving money because you bought a fixer upper. So
yeah,
right off the bat, right out the gate, you're already having to figure out ways to cut costs. And by taking on some of those jobs and doing them yourself is a big way to do that. It's called sweat equity when you're doing it in your
yes, it
house.
is.
There's a reason why they call it sweat equity.
It was a lot of work because we didn't. I know that my parents didn't do things correctly, but it got me into a home where I was close to. I don't know why this camera keeps flashing, but it does. I was close to where I was working, and I could walk to work. I was a nurse's aide at a nursing home, and was able to walk to work, walk back home, and cook and do all the things I needed to do. In that home, and of course, my parents helped me to get to places when I needed to get somewhere. And was able to go to auctions. Auctions are a great place to find furniture.
Yes, they are good furniture.
Awesome, awesome old furniture that is in still good shape.
And there's
Instead
another
of
example of saving money.
saving money, go to the auctions. It's I now go to different, not like a consignment shop, but something that someone did. They would get furniture from someone that had um, their loved one had died, an estate sale, and then that person would sell those uh, different things. I don't know if what the problem is that it's not plugged in good enough down here. Let's see if that works. Um,
I say we may have to put up a warning for anybody with epilepsy because it keeps blinking.
yeah, I know. I kind of pushed in on the things a little bit back there on this thing that Ronald has, but going to auctions now. Be careful, on how much you're spending. So that's how I was able to equip a home was at auctions. I know
Between
there's
that
one
and yard sales,
yard
auctions and
sales.
yard sales
Yes.
both, yes.
And one time I was telling Marie that one time I didn't have a pressure canner, and I didn't realize this, but my mom said she used to hot bath green beans. And then I realized I didn't cook them long enough, so I had to recook them. They were in the jar, they were okay, they did seal, but they were really crunchy. So I
I
learned
did that with
something.
my first batch of green beans.
I learned something that I needed to learn how to use a pressure canner,
Yeah.
and not be afraid. My kitty, this is
Oh,
baby, he wants to get up on my lap, and it's like, please leave me alone, cat. Learning different things. Most people will go and buy a new vehicle. I always try to buy used.
I did that. We did that for a while because I worked an hour from home and spent a lot of money in gas over the years going back and forth. And it's a lot of wear and tear and maintenance, extra maintenance that has to be done on them. And the depreciation on the new ones, the minute you drive it off the lot, the depreciation is crazy. So, yes, if you're in a situation where you can go used and not have to even go through a finance company, then that's even better. But if you have to go through a finance company, make sure you get a fixed rate. That's the main thing I can tell you. Fixed rate.
Yes, for sure. You
But
know,
when you're putting miles, I mean, I looked at it with the new vehicle on the miles that I was putting on it, the warranty, what it could save me. And it did actually save me at one point, because my first ever brand new vehicle that I ever bought was a Chevy pickup, and it was a lemon. It didn't even have 20,000 miles on it, and left me stranded on the side of the road one time. You couldn't even fill the gas tank up because it kept kicking it off. I mean, that truck was a nightmare. I
wow.
thought, oh man. But when I had the chance to trade it in, I did, and traded in for another new one. They get you. I'm going to tell you this for anybody that doesn't realize this: the car lots get you, because it was easier to get into a new one and get like 0% interest rate, because our credit was good. And so it's like, no interest rate. Why not? And it's kind of a trap because of that. And I traded that truck in and got an Avalanche. And then a few years goes by, and when I went to trade it for a 4-wheel drive truck, I thought they made it sound like I was getting 2,000 above the payoff on the Avalanche. And so then I had the 4-wheel drive truck, and I had it 3 or 4 years, and I was like, I'm going to trade it in. So I go to the car lot, and what they had done is a good old switcheroo. And instead of knocking 2,000 off the cost of the new one, like they said, they tacked on 2,000. And I didn't catch that until the next time I went to trade. And that right there upset me so much. I let them know it was the same dealership. And I let them know that they had flat out lied to me, and I would never be back. And I didn't go back. And that was when I decided, with that 4-wheel drive truck, that I was going to keep it. I was going to pay it off. I wasn't going to having to deal with the sales guys anymore. I wasn't, even though it was 0% interest on it, to me, that's not what mattered. Just the fact that they switched those numbers around and cost me extra money. So you got to really watch those contracts on deals like that too. But
I
yeah,
know
I
that.
kept that truck, and that's the one that got totaled by the tornado last year. It was a 2006 or 2007. I bought it brand new. I hated to lose it, but because of the tornado, because it was the first one I had ever bought brand new and actually paid off. So
Wow. I've always gotten vehicles from individuals that have had them for a while. And because of losing the really nice Chevy truck that I had to someone hitting it and totaling it,
yeah,
uh, I'm now behind because of that van that I got the 2 years later. The engine was about to throw a rod. And now we're looking for a vehicle, and I've been going on Facebook Marketplace and looking at different ones. And in fact, someone didn't message me back because they did have an Avalanche uh, that they were selling for 1,500, but they haven't messaged me back. So, as long as it's up there, I'm thinking that it's still there, but it may not be. That
yeah,
it's gone,
yeah,
and
yeah.
things like that.
I'm with Rainy Ridge. Yeah, that was that 4-wheel drive pickup was third or fourth vehicle I bought brand new. And there's another thing about buying something new and then you go to the grocery store, it's not comfortable. Because if you park very close, you're going to end up with the dings and the scratches and all that. So I'm kind of like anymore with the way that they get you with the interest rates, and they make it easier to buy new than going and buying used at the dealers, because you have to come up with all that extra money for a down payment if you don't have a trade in. They always get you on the trade too. They don't give you book value on it. And then they want to charge you full price for what they're trying to sell you. So normally, if they'll take some off one end of it, they just tack it on the other end of it. And that's exactly what they've done to me. So that's what I'm saying. Y'all be careful out there when it comes to that stuff. but they cost themselves in the long run because I would have went back to them and traded again. I mean, I was in the process of doing that when I found out what they had done. So I won't ever buy new again either.
I know that
It's not worth it.
one time my parents my dad went to a dealership and got a leased car and bought it outright. They paid cash for it. So going back and looking at vehicles that have been leased also, if you're able
Yeah,
to go ahead and just pay that thing off, you'd be a lot better. But I'm sort of in the situation that I can't do that,
yeah,
so, but it was really interesting. My mom found it was a 97 Chrysler Concorde that she had gotten. And then as things went along, we had to change the timing. I think it was a timing belt that at a, you know, an independent. Oh, that's one other way you can save money is not going to the car lot and having your vehicles worked on.
the car dealers, yeah, the
Car
main dealers,
dealers
yeah.
is find someone that
Find a
you can
local mechanic.
find a local mechanic that's close to you that you can trust
Yeah,
and have them work on your vehicle instead. There's one thing that I do is when I had a vehicle, I would go and buy my oil myself, my filter myself, and save that cost because I was buying Max Life, Valvoline Max Life oil, and it's expensive when you get the Max Life type oils. So going and buying that oil from, from someplace, look around. What's the prices of your stuff in your
right,
area? Find the
right.
cheapest place.
Yeah,
If you're going to get parts, sometimes your mechanic will be okay about you bringing your own parts in. You don't have the warranty, but you have the warranty of the parts. You don't have the warranty on the labor. So you can save money that way too. That's another thing that I end up doing. I
yeah.
don't go to I don't go to big stores where I'm buying tires. I can go to a place that they get tires for semis that's cheaper.
Huh.
Shop
Like at a
around.
truck, like at a truck stop.
No, it's not at a truck stop.
One of
There's
the,
this.
how some of the truck stops have the tire shops right there
Yes,
connected to them. Yeah.
yes,
Is that where you're talking about? Someplace
yes,
like that? Oh,
yes.
okay. Okay.
They tend to be cheaper. I go to this place called Pumps and buy car tires from them. When I had the big truck, when my truck was a 1 ton truck, so it had 10-ply tires on it. And I went down there and talked to them, and I was able to get a lower price tires from there instead of going like to Big O Tires and all those other places.
Right. I've walked into little local tire shops before and said, I'm looking at getting new tires. And they're like, okay. And they'll go look and see what size. And then sometimes if you buy four at one time, you'll get a discount. I know one time it was Goodyear was doing a sale. And so it's like if you bought a set of four new tires, you ended up getting $150 back. We jumped on that. We got that money back. So it was like, yeah, four brand new truck tires. And I don't think seemed like it was less than $300. And it would have been closer to four, if not over four, with balancing and all that. So yeah, what you watching for sales like that too, if
Mhm.
you're in a position to be able to get four new ones, then sometimes you can save money. And that's where trying to plan ahead sometimes comes in too.
Certainly
Because
does.
it's like if you're planning ahead, you like say you get a used vehicle and it's new to you and the tires look great. They're not great, but they look fine. They're going to last you for a while. Then if it's a situation where you've paid cash for the car, a lot of times it's like try to put a little bit of money back since you're not having to make a car payment. So that way, whenever it comes to even the routine maintenance stuff on one, or going and being able to make a deal like that and buying 4 new tires at one time. If we didn't scrimp and save at times, we would never be in that position to be able to do that. Not without using a credit card, and who wants to pay the interest on those? Not me. Hello, our new land. It's good to see you. I'm going to do a quick rundown to everybody that's in here real quick. Quick. Sorry, y'all. Milk and Honey Heritage Farms, it's good to see you. And Rainy Ridge and Peaceful Des, it's great to see you. I've been kind of out of the loop. I'm hoping people missed me at least a little bit. And Anita Walkup is in here, and the Bud Files, and of course Rebecca Touched by Yarn up on the screen with me. All right. We've been discussing ways to save money, and we've kind of went off on a spill about how to save money when it comes to cars, whether it's cutting costs by going and buying your own oil. I know we have a local gas station that you can bring in your own oil and filter, and for $20, they'll change it. They'll use your stuff and do it. Yeah. Now, my son, he uses synthetic, and he just paid, it was outrageous what he paid to get his oil changed. I said, and he was talking about that. He said, I should have bought the oil myself. And I said, yeah. And I said, if you didn't want to get under your car and do it yourself, there's a station in town. I told him which one. I said, $20, and they'd have done it. He could have saved more. He could have paid that guy to do it and would have still saved like $40. So watch for deals like that. And then, of course, you could be like how I used to do. I would get under there, change the oil myself. And that was one of the things back before me and my sister, either one, our dad would not let us drive down the road, much less get our driver's license or even the learner's permit, until we were out there with him and he showed us how to take off, break it down, take the tire off, put it back on. He showed us all the parts and the motor on the car we had, which was it was a Slant 6. It was a Dodge Duster. And so he had, it was like we had to be able to know how to change the oil, be able to change a flat tire. Those cars were so basic and so easy to work on that it was like we were in that mode. It's like, oh, it needs an alternator. Well, you girls get out there and figure it out, And so it's like we were all up in it and doing it. And so that's a big way to save some money too. But the newer cars, I can tell you, they make them so strange. I had a little Ford Aerostar minivan at one point, and in order to change the plugs in that minivan, you had to jack it up and take the right front tire off of it to be able to reach that last plug to be able to get it out and replace it.
Wow.
So that was the thing that, that was always one way that I saved cost too when it come to cars, was if it needed an alternator, I changed it. If it needed a battery, I changed it. If it was needing an oil change, I did that. It was like everything that needed to be done on it that was just basic stuff, I did that. And I did that for years with different vehicles that I had too, until the arthritis has just got it to where me getting down on the ground and getting under a car, even on the ramps, and I'm just like, it's killer. But I still change the oil on the tractor because that is another way to save money. Like when it comes to the tractor, it just all of a sudden it would not go. And so husband gets out there, and he's not real mechanical or anything, but he gets out there and he figures out, well, it's the cable that connects the throttle to rev it up, increase your RPMs. So he figured out what it was. And because of the internet, he was able to get on and see this is what it was. And then my son got out there and like 5 minutes had it changed. It would have cost us probably a couple $100 or more to load it up on the trailer and haul it in to the tractor dealer and have them fix it. So when it comes to saving costs, learn how to do some of that kind of stuff yourself. You have the internet, and YouTube is like wide open at your hands. You can learn how to do anything if you want to. That's my opinion. I'll let you talk again, Rebecca.
I've when I was married, I knew how to do drum brakes. I know how to change radiators, all those things. When they went to the one belt for everything, I had never changed the
Yes.
serpentine belts because
Yes.
the bad thing about this the system they have now, they're making us more dependent on them.
That's what I'm saying. That everything is like so
Because remember how we used to
electronic in
have
those motors. If you
remember
don't
how
know
we used to
those
have
mechanic
individual yeah.
tricks, it's
Remember how
almost
we
impossible.
remember how we used to have individual belts
Yeah.
that would work that item.
Yeah, one
Like
was
it's
for the
when
alternator, one was for the water pump, and then there
yeah,
was either a drivetrain or a drive belt for the motor. Yeah.
yeah. They made us more dependent on them. Hi, Rita's Roost. Great to see you. There's other things that just seeing Rita come in made me think of something.
Okay.
If you have clothes and the front has gotten bad, but the back material is still
Mhm.
good,
Mhm.
cut that. Make a blanket.
Yeah, or
You
even
know,
just cut it up and use it for dust rags.
yes.
Yeah.
It's about not throwing things away. It's about reusing, recycle,
Yes.
reuse,
Recycle, reuse, and
use,
repurpose.
repurpose.
Yes. Rita's Roost, I couldn't help but laugh. She says, we know a lot more about motors than she does. I just knew that I had this sneaking suspicion about Rebecca. And I tell you this because I would have never even, I think, would have thought this if I hadn't actually met her in person at the Mid America meetup. But I was like, oh, I know. I bet she knows some stuff.
Oh, I
I
do.
figured she knows some stuff.
My father was a master mechanic.
Yeah, that's a good idea
It did
too.
not matter. It did not matter. You were going to learn to work on your vehicle. You were going to
Yeah,
learn.
Rita's Roost, I'm with you there. I don't touch the electric. And like Rebecca a while ago
I
was
don't either.
talking about the
Uh-uh.
drum brakes, that was one thing. It's like I will not. I refused. Even my husband was like, "Oh, I know you can do it." I was like, "I refuse to touch the brakes."
I love that they have switched it to calipers on front and back now, because doing drum brakes, this is the problem of doing drum brakes on the ground, is you don't have the leverage. And trust me, I know this. You don't have the leverage to bring those springs up where they need to be. So having it on a lift to be able to do the drum brakes is a
Uh,
lot easier. I've had struggles in doing drum brakes where you're sitting on the ground and doing them. So I've
I agree.
learned something.
Sometimes having somebody to be there and hold a flashlight or hand a tool is a oh man, that is like a blessing and a half.
It is. So and in fact, in your areas, you may have and don't even know this. If you can learn how to do some of these things, there are places where you can rent a lift from someone. That they
Yeah.
have set this up where you can bring your vehicle and do it yourself.
Now, used to, I don't know if it's still that way now. I mean, this is something if you have kind of a relationship with a parts store, car parts store, like
Mhm.
there's AutoZone and O'Reilly's. We got a bumper to bumper, which used to be the local bumper bumper was local owned. Well, anyway, you could go in there sometimes, and if it was like a special tool, you could actually borrow it from them. Now I don't know if that's still possible now. I got to jump up for
They
just a
rent
second to turn this heater off.
they now rent it, and then you bring it back and you get that money back, because
Yeah,
people were not bringing the tools back, so they started having them rent them.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
when you brought it back,
That's
you got your money back.
mm-hmm. Yep.
But yes, I still have, I may not have my dad's mechanic tools, but I have I've bought them on uh, Craigslist. I
Oh
have
yeah.
bought tools. I have bought tools from pawn shops also.
Yeah, pawn
So
shops are
I do have
sometimes
my
they're
own
a good
tools.
place to get tools. Yeah, yeah. Oh look, there's Ann Whatnot. She's jumped on now. And she's talking about, oh yeah, and speaking of O'Reilly's and AutoZone, I don't know if everybody is aware of this, but like if you're driving down the road, your check engine light comes on, you can actually take it to O'Reilly's or AutoZone. A lot of the times, one of those corporate auto parts stores will have the thing where they can come out and plug it up to your vehicle and tell you why it showed the light. So, and it's free of charge. So that right there saves you money too, because sometimes people will be like, oh no, the light come on. And the first thing they do is get home, if they make it home and get home and call the dealer and say, hey, I got this light. And then it's like so much money flat charge for them to even look at it. So you're out all that money just for them to look at it when you could just go to the auto parts store and let them hook it up and say, this is what it's saying. So
I'm
have you ever had to do that, Rebecca?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
But there was one time we were watching an infomercial, and there's this thing called Car. I don't know if they're in business anymore, but it's called Car MD, that you can plug that into your own from 1996 on into that OSB2 and know what is wrong with your car, because then you can plug it into your computer because you've already registered that car to that, and go in there and be able to find out what possibly could be wrong
Wow.
with your
I didn't know that.
vehicle. Yeah. And now they have different ones, that you can plug those things in yourself and use your computer, use your phone. They're now connecting them with your phone, that you can
Yeah.
say, oh, okay, the gas cap's not tight, and be able to fix that problem.
And whatnot saying O'Reilly's and AutoZone also test your batteries and alternator.
Yes, they do.
So
You
it's
know,
it's
it's
always good. It's always good to know because any time that you can save a few dollars here and there, I mean, it all adds up. One recent example, I'm going to jump off the car subject for a minute. One of our dogs had to go to the vet. She wasn't doing well. And when I went to pay the bill, I just wasn't thinking and just debit card. And then after I got out in the truck and I looked at the receipt and I seen $7.52 I could have saved if I just wrote a check or paid cash. So you got to watch those fees on those cards too.
Yes, for sure. It's and like I've been telling people, when my sister Christine passed away, she had taken all of this food that she had gotten from the pantry and putting them in canning jars, and got that vacuum sealing thing. And I have that food here now because my brother-in-law didn't want it. He wasn't going to eat the pasta that are in those jars. I'm now being fed by my sister in a roundabout way, you know? And
Yeah.
it's so nice, having that extra food, having a place to put it. I know there's some people that don't have the room, but figuring out what you need to do to be able to have extra food. So if the stores close down, you've got food to eat.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I always, even before we owned the farm, most of the places I lived as an adult was in the country. And I kind of grew up with my parents already, stockpiling. If something went on sale, they would buy some extra. And then so it was like over time, you kind of build up a stockpile, because that was back in the day where you didn't just jump and run and go to the grocery store for one or two items, you know? And so it
Yeah.
was like, this is what we need. And so trying to plan ahead too is another way to save costs. It's like you always want to, anytime I worked extra and made extra money, I would go ahead and put that money towards shampoos or detergents or whatever. And I got lucky. I know there's still some people that do that couponing. If you can find somebody that's doing that, sometimes buying deals, package deals from them where they'll throw in, like, you buy this laundry detergent, you get a pack of paper towels, a pack of toilet paper, some cleaner, some shampoo. Well, by the time I figured out what I would have bought at the store and paid for that bundle that I was buying from her, it was like I was getting all the cleaners for nothing. And so you can save money finding people that do that. And I mean, she wasn't doing it for nothing. She was still making some money doing it, but in the process of her making some money, she saved me quite a bit of money, because I went and bought bundles and bought another bundle and another bundle. And over about a year's time of buying different bundles from her, I had like a couple of years worth of laundry detergent, shampoo, cleaners. And it kind of comes back to like what you was just talking about, having to have a place to be able to store that stuff.
True.
And I want to mention real quick, Milk and Honey Heritage Farms is saying, or someone gets sick or a job loss. That's exactly right, because you don't ever know. I mean, everybody's like, well, if you're prepping, there's no, why would you want to prep? It's not just about like what could happen, worst case scenario, apocalypse, whatever. Okay. It's about snowstorm and the electric is off for a few days. It's about, something happens, like she said, like they said, and somebody gets sick. I mean, or somebody loses their job. If you've already got a little bit extra stock of food, you've got extra stock of just normal day-to-day supplies, then when something like that happens, it's not an automatic, oh my gosh, what are we going to eat tomorrow? Because you've already kind of planned that out. It's like, we don't take vacations, I have no interest in it. I'm not, I don't want to travel the world. I mean, there's only one place really I'd still like to see, and that's the Grand Canyon. But other than that, it's pretty much we're home. I like being home. You ever hear when somebody says, there was a meme going around talking about build the life that you want, not what you want to get away from. And so that's kind of what we did. It's like we're homebodies. And so we're just happy to just stay here, And so that's.
I have watched some YouTube channels that have made their own chicken feed.
Oh yeah, I used to work
where they get bulk black oil seed, sunflower seeds.
Where at?
I don't know. It was one of the channels that I was watching that they mixed their own feed. They would buy the bags of those black oil seeds, and then they'd get the cracked corn or the corn and put other things in there and made their own mix.
I used to work for a guy that had a parrot ranch. And that was exactly what he would do. About once every month or so, he would make a trip down to Dallas, and he would come back and he would have like big 50-pound bags of almonds in the shell, and the big, what do they call them, filbert nuts, and it was almonds, the filbert nuts, and something, peanuts. And he would come back because he made his own feed for the parrots. And he had conures, Amazons, macaws, cockatoos. I mean, he had a good mix of birds. And so he would go down about every month, and he knew, this is how much you feed them and this is how many bags you need. And so he'd go down and buy it in bulk. And then that was his way of saving cost on doing that. Yeah, Milk and Honey talked about if your bank account gets messed up too or something. And that's a good thing about keeping some cash on hand, and also having stuff stockpiled. So if a situation like that comes up and it takes 3 or 4 days to straighten it out, then you're not driving down the road on gas fumes in your car because you ain't got no money to put gas in. So yeah, always try to think ahead. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, is just trying to think ahead, because it's like if you're thinking ahead when you're at the grocery store, you've already like kind of figured out what you're going to make for food that week. Excuse me. And being able to kind of plan it that way so that you're not having to make an extra trip in especially if you're in the country, having to make an extra trip into town, because that's gas and wear and tear on your vehicle too. And also, I do want to mention, because Ann Whatnot also brought it up, and this was something that some of us was talking about on Facebook the other day, was if you go to the gas station and using a debit card, there's one I know it was like $175 hold. And it's like you get $20-$30 worth of gas, and then they turn around and put $175 hold on your account. And it could be on there for a couple of days before they turn around and put your money back in there. Well, in the meantime, it's like this people that I know was talking about it, they wasn't aware it was going to be a $175 hold, and it caused them to bounce a check from someplace else because of that hold. So then they turn around and have to pay bank fees. So you got to watch that too when it comes to at the gas pumps, because of the holds they put on your money. It's like they hold your money. You can't even use that money while they got a hold on it.
How true. What I ended up doing is I would go to the bank and I would withdraw the money and then go to the gas station, pay the cash. And then my brother would stay in there and bring what we didn't use back out.
Yeah.
You know?
I think they get us with a lot of things just as a matter of convenience, because it's inconvenient to go to the gas station, and it's like, especially where it's like pay at the pump, you don't even have to walk in the store to even go pay them. Just use your card. They just make it so easy and convenient, and it costs us by using that convenience sometimes. So, Rebecca, let's talk about ways to save money when it comes to food. Like,
I have an EBT card because I am
okay,
on disability. For a long time, I was not going to the farmer's market. In my area where I live, I am able to take my EBT card to that place. And because I had $116 on that card that I had not used, basically they match $60 with $35 plus $25 in tokens that are used for nothing but fruit and vegetables. Today, I spent on some meat that we got some beef from the farmer that ends up being cheaper than going to the store to buy my beef. I was able to pick up 4 packages, which are, I think some of them were like 98 ounces or whatever they were. I got all of that meat plus a roast for about $94. And thinking about that, of getting a roast that big, you use only about 3 ounces of meat and the rest vegetables and other sides. Because it's just my brother and I, how many meals am I going to be able to make out of that roast that I'm going to cook? It's thawing out right now in my refrigerator.
right.
How many meals in making a beef soup? I don't make beef stew, because I like more liquid. So I can make a beef soup out of that with canned vegetables and stretch out what I have here at my home,
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, if it wasn't, if you get it and before you ever even cook it, knowing that you're only going to need like half of it for the meal, go ahead and cut it in half, and then cut your cook time down on it a little bit because it ain't as big. And then your other piece of it, you could go ahead and like cut it up into different size pieces if you wanted, for like, what do they call it? The cubes of meat for like, I keep saying
stew meat.
Beef tips.
Yes. I'm going to cook both of those roasts. I've got 2 of them. I've got one from one place and one from another people that I get my beef from. And I'm going to cook both of them in my roaster oven, and I do it overnight. Once it thaws out, I will put it in that roaster oven and let it be on low heat and cook all night long. And it will be ready for me to be able to cool off, put into my vacuum sealing bags, and put those in the freezer. So it's already cooked.
you're talking about the vacuum sealing. I do that because for years we used just normal Ziploc bags. Well, the price of those have went up. And the vacuum sealer I have is a food saver, but I get the bags. It's rolls off of Amazon, and then you can just make them as big as you want. And so that's like the canning chicken video and the broth, uh, getting 8 whole chickens. And actually, because it's mostly just me and my husband, and so take that whole chicken and then cut it up into parts. So I end up with legs and thighs in one vacuum sealed bag. And I say saving cost because even those Ziplocs, you'll end up with freezer burnt. The vacuum sealed
Mhm.
bags, I have not had. I know I've got some stuff in there over a year in the freezer in the vacuum sealed bags, and there's no sign of that freezer burn. So that to me is saving money because the food's not running just because I haven't cooked it yet and it's still in the freezer. So I think I had
Too,
another
and
question.
I liked what Milk and Honey Heritage Farms was putting out there. I never thought of using that as a shredded beef,
Yeah.
you
Hello,
know,
Chris.
for tacos. Never did, you know. It makes it nice, and I did learn some lessons on this. Is I used to use put the beef with the hey Christine, uh, I used to put the beef and the vegetables together. I'm not doing that anymore because when I went back in and got those packages out of the freezer,
Mm-hmm.
the vegetables did not taste very good. We still ate it, but keeping the vegetables separate from the meat, you take out a package of meat, you take out a package of vegetables, or you use your canned ones. It makes it a lot better. So don't mix your meat and your vegetables together. I
Yeah.
learned that lesson. Hi, Karen Prest. Great to see you.
Hello, Karen.
You know, it's you learn. You know, so you know because I usually never froze things, and I learned.
Yeah, our dogs had a wonderful time the last time I went through the freezer that I had used those Ziploc bags because it was like freezer burnt, freezer burnt. It's like I already had a big stew pot on the stove because I already knew because I'd seen some of them in there and it was like in the pot it went and I just cooked it all and then let it cool down and fed it to all the dogs.
Yeah,
They thought they had done hit the jackpot. But
for
yeah,
sure.
it was. I mean, it's funny. I mean, it's funny now, but it really, truly, the amount of money in meat that the dogs ended up getting to eat instead of us because it was freezer burnt. Yeah, I think the food savers are worth every penny.
They certainly are. You know, it's learning new ways of saving money. You know, trying to think what else. The I have before I got the other kind of containers that I'm now getting. You know, the cat litter. I ended up getting the Tidy Cat buckets. I have 12 of those buckets in my kitchen,
Yeah,
stacked
the
up.
the kitty litter
The
buckets.
kitty litter buckets
Yes, I love those.
that are stacked up with
Hmm.
with dried beans, uh, rice that are still in their own packages. There's some of them that I don't do that. I will take them out and put them in the vacuum sealing packages. And rice that I've been able to put in the vacuum sealing packages and all that stuff. Oatmeal, quick
Yeah,
oats in
yeah.
those vacuum sealing packages.
Now, before you put your stuff in storage, do you like on the rice and any pastas, I normally will put them in the freezer for a couple of days and then
Oh,
let them
I
sit on the
didn't do
counter for
that,
a
but
day
I
before
will.
putting in storage. Because if you don't, and there's any kind of insect eggs on any of that, and they hatch out, and you end up with those little weevils in your food, and you sure don't want that. That is heartbreaking. I've
No.
seen that happen to a neighbor years ago, and she was just in tears. I mean, it was like they were in everything. So
Wow.
yeah, it's always freezer first for a couple of days, and then I'll let it
Freezer
sit
first.
out
Okay.
room
That's
temp, so that way no condensation is ended up inside your bucket. So So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
because I mean, when we buy flour, I mean we're 6 miles outside of town. So it's not, it's like, yeah, we could go ahead and buy the 5 pound bag of flour, the 5 pound bag of cornmeal, but it costs more buying it like that. And so we have a Sam's Club. There's a name for it, but we have so they just ship stuff to us. And then, it's like with Amazon, except it's Sam's Club. And so we go ahead and order in. You can't order any of their fresh stuff and like the cans of sodas and stuff. They won't ship those. They'll normally say they're out of stock for shipping, but they're in the store. But if you have something like that, so that way you can order in like a 25-pound bag. And I guess Aldi's, is that the same way? Because I know there's another store that's kind of like Sam's where you can buy the 25-pound bag of cornmeal, 25-pound bag of sugar, 25-pound bag of rice, flour. Is it
I
Aldi or
all the Aldi that I have does not have the big
the big
bags. The
bulk?
stores that we have here.
Yeah.
But I do have a Sam's Club membership that if I'm going to do that, I will. Well, with the pantry, I get so much rice from there. I really don't need to go to Aldi or any of those
Right.
places because I've got a lot of rice. And I've been slowly getting rid of the white rice, but then everybody says, "Oh, eating the brown rice isn't good because it causes problems." And I'm like, "Hey, I'd rather have
I
brown rice."
know. It's like they switch things up every so many
They
years.
do.
I'm going to say a quick hello to Mike Birch and the PSD
Hi, Paul.
Odyssey. Hello.
That's Paul. That's Paul.
Yeah.
He is.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, being able to buy in bulk like that. Now you have to watch buying in bulk because sometimes you'll end up paying more. Like if you
Yes.
don't watch the amount of, I think it's so many square feet on a roll of toilet paper. All right. The same thing with paper towels. My husband figured out years ago it's cheaper to just buy the toilet paper a lot of times from like one of the stores in town instead of buying it from Sam's because we ended up paying more for it buying it in bulk was from Sam's. So, but like the sugar and the flour and the cornmeal, all those, yeah, we buy in bulk and then just they ship it here and then I'll just take it back. I try not to get all of it at one time, just as needed. And so then that way I only have like 125-pound bag at a time that goes on a shelf in the freezer for a couple of days. And then it turns around and end up in a bucket in the Mylar bag till we need it.
I've
So
never. Where do you get those? I would love to be able to put some of the stuff that we get from the pantry into those Mylar bags. Where
I
do
just got them off
you
Amazon.
Amazon?
Yeah,
And
you can get,
do you
get them
have to
there.
buy do you have to buy a machine or can you use
I
the vacuum
haven't,
sealer
I
with
mean,
it?
my bags are just like down inside of the 5 gallon buckets. And then I just pour it all in there and just kind of close the bag down. I don't vacuum seal it or anything. I just close it down and then the bucket lid gets put back on it. And
There was
that's the thing because like any of the dried things like with spaghetti, I always tell everybody if you're beginning to even think about trying to like prep, put something back, be able to try to stockpile a little bit, spaghetti, 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 because 1 pound feeds 4 to 6 adults. Okay, if times are tight, you could probably go 8 people and everybody just eat a little bit less. But 1 pound of spaghetti will feed quite a few adults. All right, and compared to any other kind of pasta, like egg noodles, a pound of egg noodles is going to feed like maybe 2 people. A pound of spaghetti feeds quite a few people. And it's really easy to store and it's cheap. So I always just about almost at all times anymore have at least 30 pounds of spaghetti on hand. And it's just in 5 gallon bucket, just waiting for me to use it.
Christine was asking where did you get your food safe buckets?
Oh, it's just Tractor Supply buckets. They're food safe if they have that. If you turn them over and look at them, and they have like recycle triangle, and the number 2, then it shows that they're food safe.
There's a place that is up probably about 45 minutes from my house that you can buy the blue barrels for like $25.
The
And
big
I have
gallon Blue Barrel?
55 gallon.
Wow.
55
Yeah.
gallon for $25 that I was able to get 2 of those. And what I ended up doing, it did have wine in it. And I tried to rinse them out as good as I can, but having those 55-gallon buckets, that thing, and I do have the thing that will pump the water out, is if our water goes off, I'm still going to be able to wash dishes and flush the toilet.
Yeah.
I may not be able to drink it.
Right. Well, I mean, okay. I'm glad you said that. You about choked me. And the reason I say that is because our swimming pool. A lot of people would be like, Homestead's got a swimming pool? What? You know, because people have this like whole thing in their head about what a homestead is supposed to be. Everybody's got different ideas. Well, my idea is that swimming pool is out there, and when it's really hot outside, I can jump in it to cool off. But it's also a secondary use because that's extra water out there. And like you was talking about, well, you couldn't drink it. Well, I know I could, and it's not because it's right now it's winter. It's got like, since we had a few warm days, it's got an algae bloom going on right now. Now I know from years of having fish that the easiest way to would be, number one, if I just need to flush the toilet, is just go get a 5-gallon bucket, dip some water out, pour it in your toilet, and it'll flush it on down. All right, so that problem solved. But when it comes to being able to actually drink that water, I would first of all take an old, clean rag and run that water through that rag, so it's going to catch the biggest pieces of debris. And then of course you want to run it through fabric that's even more finer knit, doesn't have a real big weave on it, whatever, however they say it, and run it through it again. And then also I still have some zeolite and charcoal from the fish tanks, and it's just in containers, and it's just kind of set back so that if this situation was to ever happen, I can turn around and run it through all of that, and that carbon, the zeolite and the black stuff will actually grab on to stuff as it passes through it. All right, so you've pretty much got it all filtered out. So then all you have to do is boil it, and you're good to go.
You're good to go.
So to me, that swimming pool, everybody might think, well, that's kind of an unnecessary expense, but it's also kind of a backup because we don't have a water source on our property that flows all the time. Only when it's like wet winter, wet weather, does the slough have water in it. But hottest part of the year, summer, it's dry as a bone over there. So we can't count on that for a water supply. But that pool's right there. It'll last for a little while.
Certainly will.
So, yeah. I mean, I was ready. We've got one of those big, it's like the big square plastic box looking thing that's in a metal cage. I can't think of what they call them. Some of those
IBC tote.
Yeah, IBC tote.
IBC tote. Yes.
And being able to take and fill it up, to be able to have water.
I want to have one of those.
Pond, yeah.
Even think about this. I know that you couldn't drink that water, but having one of those IBC totes to put water into, to water your plants.
Mm-hmm. I want to set it up to where I have one out here. I don't have gutters on the back side of the house yet. And so the plan is to be able to run the gutter across there and have it drain down into that IBC tote, have it close enough to where I can actually use it in the garden. Because rainwater, I tell you, the plants know the difference between the rainwater and just water straight out of the hose. Because you can go out there and water every day, and yeah, they look fine, okay. Well, if you get a good rain at least once a week while they're growing, they just grow twice as fast, and I swear they're just more beautiful, I think. I mean, something in the rain sure helps them.
Yeah, that's the whatnot was saying having water filters to be able to filter that water.
Yeah.
I watched somebody make got Berkey filters and ended up getting stock pots and making their own thing to, instead of buying the whole Berkey thing,
Right.
is they ended up using a, a stainless steel kettle, one of those stock pot,
Mhm.
one of the stock pot ones, and putting it together and able to use those filters to filter the water.
Oh yeah. I just recently, I don't remember where it was I seen it, if it was TikTok or what, but one of the other social medias, and there was people talking about the government was trying to ban those Berkey water filters. And everybody was like, "What? That's like the best water filter you could buy. Why are they doing that?" It's like, I don't know. And that's why I was talking about. It's like, well, all you need is some charcoal or some zeolite for the fish tanks. They put it in the charcoal and the filters, and it filters the water. So having some of that on hand helps. It's a
Trying to
backup.
think of trying to think of anything else that I've done in the past. There's with this, thing, I've found out that with the liquid soap,
Mm-hmm.
I've still got containers, but I want to learn how to get, like the borate and all of that stuff and make my own powdered soap here at home.
Oh, the
Where
borax.
the
Yeah.
borax, yes, the borax and
Borax.
whatever else we're using to make that soap myself.
Yeah.
My grandmother made lye soap. So I was trying to figure out, can I, because it has cracked, because it kind of dried out, can I shave that that the soap that she made? Could I shave that and use that in my front loader wash machine?
Oh, yeah. With the front loaders, I don't know. I'd be
I
kind of
don't know
leery.
either. You know?
I'll tell you right now. I mean, I think this is like the second front loader. I love the front loaders. Don't get me wrong, but they leak. They just, I mean, even if you use everything that they say is safe to use in them, it still seems like some of the water still comes out. It leaked a little bit out that front.
The LG that I ended up getting, I'm always, after I wash the clothes, I'm always checking that seal, and I've had it now for, my mom bought it in 2009, and we have had no problems, knock on wood. We haven't. You know,
Milk and
we
honey
don't
is
pay for garbage
about,
service. Recycle
yeah.
every 4 weeks of glass and plastic, compost food waste. Any garbage we have is, yeah.
Now myself, as far as like, I don't get to compost food because between the dogs, the outside dogs, and the chickens, they get all of that. Unless it's something they can't have, like chocolate. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's
pretty much
we
any extra food goes to them. Even the turkeys and chickens even know, they've learned, if I'm in the garden, they'll be like outside the garden fence hollering at me like, "Hey, hey, we're over here." And I'm like, "There's nothing for me to throw to you." Because they're little beggars. They know if there's something that I can toss to them, I'm going to. So it's like, if I'm out there and I find a tomato that a bug has gotten a hold of, I'll just pull it off and toss it over for them. So they love that. And so that's another way to save costs too. Like if you have chickens, is being able to, if you're fixing food and well, if I don't put this in it, like I talked about with the chocolate, if you don't use that, then knowing it's something that's safe for you to feed to your birds, then you can feed them, and that saves cost on the feed too. Now, when we had that real cold spell, I like to feed our animals extra when it's freezing cold. Okay, because to me, I would rather go ahead and feed them extra and let them help, be able to keep themselves warm better, instead of them dropping weight and trying to get weight on them, because it's so hard to put weight on them at times. And so that's something that you have to watch out for. Um,
so true.
Trying to save costs, like with the livestock. One of the ways also, because it being so cold, and it's like our chickens and the turkeys, all they eat's egg pellets. All right. Well, I don't feed scratch because it's only about 8% protein. But I thought, well, for winter, it being this cold, I took and soaked it and letting the feed soak, for several hours in hot water. And then it just kind of swells up. And then I just take it out there and dump it out for them. It's more like a treat for them. It's something extra because they free range, which also helps cut costs on feed. Because if I kept them caged up, I'd have to feed them more. But if they're free ranging around the yard and around the property, then I don't have to feed them as much. So plus they love it, being able to go out and do whatever they want. But it saves costs doing that, letting them free range. And another way over the years, oh gosh, I was probably like 20 something years old. Well, matter of fact, I was 21 when I got my first horse. And first thing he did was put a gash in the leg. I had to have the vet out. So the first thing that I got to learn with my very first horse was how to give an injection. And so from that point, it was the vet showed me, this is what you do, this is where you do it. All right. So for decades, when it come to our own livestock, and I know there's a lot of other farmers, ranchers, homesteaders that do this too. This is another way that some people on the outside looking in may not realize there's ways to save costs on that too. And one of those ways is giving the injections yourself for just routine vaccinations. Like I said, I learned that long, long time ago. And in 35 plus years, one horse, and that was just last year, had a reaction to a shot and died. And that's 35 years of giving injections to different dogs and different horses and then the goats. I never would do a cat because cats
They can turn in their own skin.
Yeah. And so I was like, nope, I'm not doing a cat. Kind of like with the brakes on the car. There's certain things I'm just not going to do. Hello, Butler Family Farm. It's good to see you. We're talking about different ways to cut costs, save money. And I bet you that Butler Family Farm, they probably give their own routine vaccinations themselves because of the fact the livestock that they have. So that's another way. Now, I know when I just had like a couple horses, load them up, take them to the vet, let the vet give them the shots. And it was like twice the cost of me just ordering in the shot and giving it myself. I don't even know what it costs at this point at the vet to have it done for horses.
When there used to be Orslins, it's called something else now. I wouldn't give the rabies shot because that in our state, a veterinarian has to give it.
Right. Now, I used
will
to
do the combination
rabies until they changed the law and said you could still give it yourself, but if that dog bit somebody, then they was going to have to go through the whole rabies protocol thing. And so that's when it was like, yep, they're going to the vet for the rabies. Plus, it's an intermuscular injection, and I hate giving IM shots. Go ahead.
So I would give the combination shots to my dogs. And then on the bottle, it has that label that you put on a 3x5 card, the date you got it. You put the receipt on that card, their name, and that you gave that shot to your dogs. Cats, I won't give my cats the shots. No.
Yeah, anymore the house dogs, I don't do them, but two of them are smaller, and I never did like doing the smaller ones, and so we just take them to the vet anymore and let them do all of them. Which, oh my gosh, what was it? I would have to look, but I was shocked by the amount that it had went up since last year. I was like, whoa. Maybe I should go back to giving the 5-way shots myself. I don't know.
I usually did the 7-way.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of hard to keep up with different breeds of animals, because like with the horses, it was 3-way. I believe it's Eastern and Western encephalitis and tetanus and West Nile. I seem like there's something else. Maybe it's Eastern and Western encephalitis is considered two, and then tetanus, and then West Nile. So it's a four-way now. Used to, the West Nile was separate. And the West Nile vaccine for the horses, when they first come out with that, it was pretty expensive. It's like with any kind of new medicine, it seems like it's more expensive at first.
It kind of makes me think about, with having animals, pets and things like that. It can get pretty expensive. What I end up doing is I get dried dog food for my dogs, but
Mhm.
I do not like the ground turkey. I've tried to use the ground turkey. Come on, thing. Um, the ground turkey. And I will cook that for my dogs and put that on their food to give them, something, because I've tried to use that that ground turkey and it's like, no, I'm just, so I feed it to my dogs. And then I also put carrots in there, and most people don't know this is onions and garlic can make your dogs anemic. So you need to be careful. I know there's some people that believe garlic is good for them. It's not. And grapes, never feed grapes or raisins to your dogs. It will shut down their kidneys, and things like that. So make sure you look into it what your animals can eat. So you're not going to miss
Yeah,
it.
definitely, definitely.
Definitely.
And
So
especially if you're like making a meal and you're thinking in the back of your head, or they say you can rewarm food. It's like you make it, you can put it in the refrigerate it, and then you pull it out and you can warm it back up. I don't think they recommend warming it twice anymore. But if you're already thinking that, well, this is something I want, but it's not something I'm going to want all of it, and so knowing ahead of time that you're going to give the leftovers to the animals and being able to make sure that you don't put things like that in it.
correct. You know,
That
been
comes back to that planning, trying to plan ahead.
trying to think of anything else. The Some of the things that I've been able to do, because I make things with yarn. I have been able to find yarn on Facebook Marketplace for people that are just getting rid of yarn. Going,
Mm-hmm.
going there and getting that yarn. Um, checking those places. So if you're doing crafts, look for different places you could potentially get it. I didn't
Exactly.
even
I mean,
I didn't even realize that at my senior center there is a place that has crafts
huh.
that people bring in things for consignment. They have yarn also. I
Oh,
was
wow.
able to pick up some 75% acrylic and 25% wool that matches some other that is the same brand of yarn that I'm going to be able to make me a wool throw,
Wow.
that I'm going to be able to incorporate it with some dark green that I had and some red. And it has a little bit of blue in it and a little bit of green in it. And it's going to
Yeah,
tie right in,
there.
so
A lot of my yarn supply is a deal that I found from somebody I used to work with. She crochets too, and she says, "We're cleaning out our storage room. You got any interest in some yarn? I'll make you a package deal." And it was like two big old black garbage bags full of all kinds of yarn for like $40. I was like, "Yeah, that yarn will last me." I haven't been crocheting lately, so at the rate I'm going, it'll last me the rest of my life.
it's figuring out what we got to do.
Yeah, and
And
that
and
somebody was talking about makeup, and I said, "Well, I tell you, I don't wear makeup now. Some people may think so because I had permanent makeup done, the eyebrows and the eyeliner, but when I did wear makeup, the way that I made up for the fact that I was spending money on makeup, I'm sensitive to so many different things, but Avon products, I didn't ever have a problem with Avon products. And so I've become one of their salespeople and actually sold Avon for a while. It was my little part-time gig, and it was basically just, I did it to pay for my own makeup. And I didn't really go out and like push to try to sell it. And the deals that they have in Avon with different clothes or shoes and stuff like that, and even shampoos and all that stuff, gift sets. And so my family there for a couple of years, when it come to like a birthday or Christmas, there was a lot of Avon products involved. I was like, and still, even after all that, even after me using what I was earning from Avon to pay for my own makeup and then pay for it using that money to pay for gifts, I still would make, I think one year I made like 600 something at the end of the year. And it was like the next year was like five something, even after me spent, so it was like, even though I was spending it, I still made some. So that's another thing to think of. And I know, Avon still takes on new representatives, new salespeople. I don't know if Mary Kay does anymore. I don't know if any of these newer name brands of makeup, if they do that kind of thing. But I'm sure some of the younger people that are more familiar with those newer name brands of makeup would probably know if any of those are a situation where they could actually become somebody that sells it in order to be able to use the money that they make to pay for their own expenses. That's what I'm getting at. Trying to think up something like that where you can, some little something you can do that's going to put some extra dollars in your pocket or save you some money by you not having to hand that money out to somebody else.
I never wore makeup, so I don't ever worry about that, you know.
But that's, somebody, because I'd made a post on Facebook about saving money and talked about the debit card fee. Well, I posted it in a Homestead group on Facebook, and you can see my nails. Okay. And this guy comes back and he said, well, you could save some money by painting your own nails. And I said, well, if they was my real nails, I could do that. I was like, that's my splurge.
So Jerry, what are you going to
I wear
do?
the same clothes until they're basically about to fall apart. And like I was telling somebody, especially out here, you wear a pair of tennis shoes out here and it's even semi muddy, and the shoes are going to get run. So why go pay $120 for a pair of name brand shoes when I can go to Walmart and get some for like $20? Who cares if $20 shoes get muddy? Name,
Yeah,
stay away from name brand stuff. That'd help you save money.
look what Jerry put in there. He was able to get
Wow.
Brussels
12 bag
sprouts,
Brussels sprouts for $1 a bag. Wow.
$1 a bag.
I'd like to have those.
She's getting ready to put them in the freezer. It's like,
And that right there, what Butler Family Farms talking about. You was talking about it earlier, talking about the farmer markets. Sometimes when these people at the farmer markets get to know you, sometimes you can find a deal where it's like they're like, hey, you want to come get the one of the farmer markets? She gave me a whole bunch of cucumbers one time because I went up there and just wanted to buy a few. She was like, here, take all these. It was like for $3 or $4, I got a bunch. And it was because they'd been up there a few days, and it was like, well, they're still good for me to can them and make pickles. So that's what I
definitely.
did.
And I've had some of the people there at the farmers market that they would give us a little bit. He would put in a bag, what we were buying, and then he'd put a little more in that we didn't see him do that. When we get home, I'm like, why? I didn't buy this, because he knows, it's being able to keep food on the table for my brother and I.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
And, just watching for deals like that, they don't come across all the time, but when they do, it's hard to pass them up. Different times of the year, you'll see different people that'll be set up on the side of the road. Now, I'm sure this doesn't happen in the cities, I don't guess, but I know in a lot of smaller towns, sometimes just right on the outskirt of that town, there'll be somebody set up, and it just depends on the season. They'll either be selling, like sitting there on the side of the road selling onions or peaches, just you name it, they're there on the side of the road and they're selling it. And a lot of the time, sweet potatoes, I mean, yeah, buy 50-pound bag of sweet potatoes at a time and stuff like that, that save you money, where it's like you can take it home and can them sweet potatoes. It's like anything like that. Get a bag of onions, be able to go ahead and take it home and be able to go ahead, if nothing else, go ahead and chop them up into the pieces that you want and throw them in the freezer.
Yep.
Watch for the farmers whenever they're harvesting their corn. Sometimes, like last year, we got lucky and we seen it on Facebook, sweet corn. So we went, drove 15 miles and went and met him in the town next to, well, 50 miles from us. But anyway, met up with him along with a bunch of other people that was there to get sweet corn, and got a bunch of sweet corn, and it is good corn and a lot cheaper than going in the store and trying to buy just a couple ears of corn. So that's one way, just watch for those kind of deals.
Yeah, it makes his, when I was talking to Marie yesterday, I was like, man, this is a great idea to help people know what to do. My sister, before she went home, she tried to teach me how to make bread, and I didn't do so good. I guess I just didn't get my water warm enough, or the yeast
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
good. It's so hard. I want to learn to make sourdough bread. Instead of paying, if Ronald wants to go get that loaf out of the refrigerator, brother, I get sourdough bread from the farmer's market. And yes, because I'm using my EBT card, I'm not really paying for it. But I'll show you how big this loaf is. And I pay $8 with the tokens that I have. And it would be a whole lot better if I'm able to just bake that here at home.
Right. Right.
He's bringing it over.
Right.
Yeah, Butler Family Farms talking about Susan got 4 bags, 16 loaves of all kinds of breads and buns, and then put them in the freezer.
You got a starter going now. Wow.
Sometimes
I need to learn. I need to learn these things.
Sometimes there's bread stores, and even like Brahms. If you go in Brahms, the ones that have like a little grocery section in them. A lot of times they'll have a clearance shelf over there. So it's like stuff that's fixing to be out of date. And then you can go over there and get it at a reduced cost, especially if you're fixing to use it right away, or do like Butler Family Farm is talking about, being able to throw it in the freezer.
Talking about that. Most people don't, Marie, most people don't know this, is put a paper towel under that bread so it soaks up that moisture. There it is. There you found it.
Yeah, as whenever it's thawing out.
This is the bread I get.
Yeah.
It's from Bard Owl. It's a sourdough, and they're this size. And they cost me $8 for this. I'd love to learn how to make this bread instead of having to buy it from them.
It looks a lot like one that I made in my Dutch oven, but it wasn't sourdough. I don't like sourdough, so I don't mess with it. But yeah, I was making our bread for a little while, but it was like going bad so fast. Store-bought bread has got these preservatives in it. And I mean, that's why it doesn't mold after a few days. You make fresh bread, and all I did was take what they call it, like cheesecloth, wrapped it up in that, because I didn't want it to mold. And it's still, within like 2 days, it was starting to mold. It's not like I had it in anything plastic. I had it where it could still breathe, and it still started to mold.
Yeah. It's
that's the downside to homemade. I'm not a big bread eater, so
what I'll do today is I'll slice this and put it back in this bag, and I'll put the stuff under this, and I'll put this in the freezer already sliced.
Now on regular bread, a lot of people don't like the heels of the bread. You know, they'll toss them. All right. Me personally, I like the hills, but anyway, so what I do when I see that the bread from the store is getting down to where it's like all that's left is that heel pieces in there, and I'll go ahead and just take it, wrap it up, and throw it in the freezer. And then after having so many of those, you can pull them out and just toast them in the oven on a cookie sheet or something, and break it up and use it to make dressing.
Yeah,
and it's just bread that some people would throw away.
Yes, usually when you've put your bread in the freezer, it is better for toasting,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So yeah, toasting it and being able to use it, it's so easy. It's kind of like, wow, you got to do what you got to do. But I would love to learn how to make sourdough bread, and instead of, yes, I'm not. Yeah, as I was telling Jerry, I use my EBT card to go to the farmers market, and they give me tokens. So in a way, I'm having someone drive me to the farmers market and using that tokens for making bread. But I would rather make it here at home.
Yeah.
You know. And of
Uh,
course, the pantry gives us bread also, and I always get the sourdough or rye bread and things like that.
that's you just reminded me what I forgot a while ago. There's also a grocery store that certain day of the week, first thing in the morning, they've already went through their case of meats, and they actually go in, and if they're fixing to expire like the next day, they'll go in and mark them all down for 50% off. So being able to go to the grocery store and buy meat at half cost and being able to turn around, even if you don't have a store where they knock it down that much, if you wait and you watch and wait for those packages, and they'll set them aside. Any store you go in, grocery store, try to find their clearance out, look around, find their clearance thing. Matter of fact, not even the grocery store, Walmart, going through their clearance aisles, because they always keep an aisle or two for clearance stuff. We got this floor cleaner, and it's crazy. The big bottle of cleaner is like $20. All right. I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm getting low on it. So I was like, I know, fixing to have to buy some. So I'm looking around, told the husband, look on Sam's, see if they have it for less. We're shopping around, looking to see where can we get a better price. Well, I went into Walmart like a week after Christmas, maybe a week and a half. It's to the point where they've already marked down all their Christmas stuff 90% off. So it'd been a few years since I bought any wrapping paper. So what I do, I go in there and I got enough wrapping paper for probably a couple of years. It just depends, because the family, sometimes when they show up, they bring gifts and they have to wrap. And all my kids know I've got this wrapping section in there. But yeah, I go and I get the wrapping paper for 90% off. Gift bags, gift boxes, 90% off. Christmas cards, 90% off. It's like I don't get the best, selection of the clearance stuff, because I don't wait for it to be 50% off or 75. I want it like bottom dollar. So here's $5 wrap of Christmas wrapping paper, and I just paid like 30 something cents for it, So yeah, I'm restocked on wrapping paper for the next couple of years. So watching for clearance is a big one.
I went online to Staples, because not having a vehicle, I wasn't able to get to the store. And I put in that I was looking for these bags. I was going to Dollar Tree and getting them the manila folders, which were ripping when I was sending out hats and stuff to people. I was able to go on staples.com and order 1,000 of these.
The plastic envelopes. Yeah.
They were clearancing them out for $65.
Wow. Years ago, I sold on eBay, and I bought the plastic envelopes like that from somebody off of eBay. So that would be another option if they can't find it at a local office supply store, is to look on eBay or even Amazon at this point. I'm sure there's, look around and check your prices. And that way, if you don't, that's the advantage of being able to order stuff in, is because they don't always have these things in the store. So it's like some things you just got to kind of watch, keep your eyes open and watch for them, watch for the deals.
Everybody was asking me if I had it with my logo on it, and I said no. And of course, buying stickers. Come on, camera. Ordering stickers is also expensive too. And getting stickers made to just put on these. I'm trying to learn how to do drawing. So I am putting my channel name on there and stuff like that. What do you want, BB? He is purring like crazy. What's going on, big boy? He just wants to be loved. But yeah, it's, just figuring out different ways to save money, going to garage sales.
Yeah, and even estate sales.
Because
sometimes, I mean, especially people that are just starting out and they're needing like normal household, like cookware and stuff, that's a great place to find them. And you don't have to go to the store and pay full price.
True.
A lot of the times in an estate sale, you'll end up with better quality stuff than what you'd go to the store and buy. A lot of the times. I guess it just, especially if you're kind of watching what neighborhoods you're going to for stuff like that. That's like the yard sales. There's always, let me see, my mother and sister-in-law would hit yard sales in Springfield, Missouri, almost every year. Whenever my parents would go up to visit with them, and they would hit the yard sales looking for deals. She would find out, matter of fact, because this was like a yearly thing that they did. She would find out ahead of time, like what sizes all of her great-grandkids were in. Well, it started out with grandkids and great-grandkids, what sizes they needed, if they needed pants more than shirts, stuff like that. And I mean, come back with some really nice stuff. So yeah, you can get some deals if you just, pay attention and shop around and watch for those yard sales and look for those deals.
Whenever I would get car parts for my vehicles, I would call around to the different car places to find out what the cost was, and then pick the one that was the lowest.
Right. I know you used to the junkyards sometimes, if it was, I don't know that they do this anymore. This has been several decades ago. But like if you had a car and the alternator messed up on it, you could call the junkyard. And if they had a car that had an alternator in it that would work with your car, you could go and pull it off in maybe $20 or less, to get it from them instead of going and buying a new one. A lot of times it's like if they pulled it off, they would check it and they would know it was good. And so they would have like some kind of warranty on it. So if you took it home, you put it in, it didn't work, you could bring it back. So there's, it's just another way to try to save costs doing it like that, especially if you're able to do it yourself.
When my mom was still alive, we would go up to these pick and pull places in Kansas City and different places and pull parts off. You paid a certain amount to go out there. And I was able to find practically brand new headlights for when I had an Impala, when I had this one Impala. And I was able to get parts for that car that made it really nice to be able to, have those parts on hand. If something happened to my headlight, I would be able to replace it.
Right.
And that already have it.
Right. And this is another thing. I've traded a vehicle one time and ended up with this little Ford Focus. Didn't have the spare, didn't have the book on it. And I was curious about it because of the things that it could do. And so I wanted the book, and I got on eBay and found one of the sellers had like 5 acres of focus or something is the name of their deal. And so I was able to get, oh gosh, it was like a piece of molding, spare. It was a brand new spare too, and then the owner's manual on it, and there was something else. And it's like I got all that stuff from them off of eBay for less than it would have cost me to go to a tire dealer and get a donut tire for the car, because I'd have had to buy the tire and the wheel both, you know. And so being able to do it through eBay is like less cost. I ended up with more stuff for less money. And so I was able to put, fix those little things on the car, throw that donut in the car. So then that way it's like, it's got the spare. So it's just, like I said,
I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy about the donuts. When I had
know,
that
I
van
hate-
that I had, I was able to go to the junkyard and get a full-size rim and go get the tire, the tire where I usually got the tires for that van. And I had a full-size spare underneath that van, which you wouldn't think it would even fit, but it did.
Yeah, see, I wondered about that. I thought most of
Yeah,
them.
I was reading that about I'm going to be making cloth wax wraps for my bread. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, so I was gonna say something a while ago, and then I forgot, and then I was like,
I was
so
like,
I went ahead and had that text. But now I'm wondering, LKQ in Oklahoma City runs specials like all you can carry for $50. I don't know what LKQ
it's probably a place where it's like a pick and pull. Maybe.
Oh, is that like a junkyard where you can go in and pull it off? Huh. Maybe. Anymore, there's not that many junkyards. I discovered that a few years back. I was like, what's happening to all our junkyards? When the price of metal was up, were they like selling all the scrap cars for the money? And now there's like hardly any junkyards around? I don't know. I mean, am I just imagining that? I mean, there used to be just about a junkyard in every town. It seemed like when we was growing up, yeah, salvage yard.
Yes.
It's like I don't even know that every town even has them anymore.
I know that where I live, there is 4 or 5 where I live here.
Oh yeah,
4 or 5, yes. But some of them only go back a certain years, like they go from now to 10 years. They don't keep the older stuff.
Is that what they did? Is they started getting rid of all the older ones?
Yes.
Huh.
I just heard my dog whine.
It was probably a wise move whenever, because that's, another way to like not really save money or cut costs, but in order to make a few dollars, was anytime that we're doing cleanup here around the farm, any metal scraps of anything gets put separate from everything else, because you can take that metal, and even if you only get $5 or $6 for a trailer load full of metal, that's $5 or $6 you didn't have. As well,
cotton fabric and beeswax. Wow.
Parchment paper, iron.
Parchment paper, iron.
Are you gonna? Hey, Milk and Honey, are you gonna make a video on that?
Yeah, definitely.
Because I'd like to see that. Just
I would too.
Yeah, because I kept thinking I thought, well, I could save the bread bags from when we buy bread at the store, but I don't know, So yeah, being able to make something like that would be nice.
That is so
I'm glad to see you, Linda Peterson.
Great to see you, Linda.
Seriously, Milk and Honey Heritage Farms, I hope that you get that up. Thank you. Yes. I'm gonna have to make sure
I'm like, oh my.
I'm not sure if I am.
Because I could make, taking this, I've got cotton yarn, and making something that would cover the bottom of this bread, and do that, and then all I've got to do is just wash it, and instead of using paper towels, because then you just throw the paper towels away.
Yeah, Linda Peterson, I'm wondering how big your town is. Do you know, is it like 10,000, 20,000, 30, 50,000 people roundabout? I mean, I know we've got one junkyard, but I mean, they actually closed last I knew, and they've been like cleaning all that stuff up and getting it out of there.
Yeah. It's kind of learning. This is why this YouTube is so nice. We're
Hmm.
learning things to not have something that you've got to throw away, because usually the paper towels, I throw them away after, when
Right,
I take it out of there, it's thrown
right,
away. Do something that you're going to be able to use for the next loaf of bread that you make.
right. Yeah, that's yes. And like I said, I thought, well, you could, there's probably you could order like bread bags, but it's like plastic. And I thought, it'd probably keep better if it wasn't in plastic. I think the only reason that store bread from the store keeps in that plastic wrap is just because of the preservatives that they put in it.
It is.
Second to the largest in Illinois. Chicago is biggest for us.
Hmm.
Well, I was born in Granite City. I don't know how big that is. I don't remember it. Oh, wow.
I can't believe we've been on here almost for 2 hours. This is
Oh my
great.
God. Wow.
You know,
I mean, I didn't know it was going to go that long. I figured, hour, a little bit maybe, but I was trying to think of some other ways through the years that I've saved money. Um, Besides yard sales, auctions.
do
Um,
you have like Salvation Armies? I don't usually go to Goodwills as much because they've gotten more expensive.
yes, they
You
have.
know,
That's why.
Salvation
That's what I
Army's
was going to say.
getting
It was Goodwill.
Salvation Armies can kind of get in that way also.
I think a lot of them are. I think
Yes.
just. Well, I was telling my husband, I said, you remember back when we were kids, it just seemed like the older folks was like, I don't know, cheap. And what I have come to figure out now that I'm the older folks and I'm cheap, it's the shock. I think it's just the shock because it's like you remember back in the day when it's like $5 would get you a meal and fill your car full of gas, And so now it's like $5 won't even get you a meal unless you go to like the dollar menu somewhere. You know what I'm saying? I think it's the shock. Hello, G Mama Grows.
Hi,
Heart
G
in the
Mama
garden.
Grows.
It's good to see you. We've been discussing different ways to cut costs or save money. Um, and just different things from the cars to the groceries to animals that we've talked about.
You know, when I used to raise rabbits, I would buy the pellets, and then seeing some of the people that now feed their rabbits, they're also going and getting a bale of alfalfa for them instead of, or even or orchard grass or any of that stuff, and
Yeah.
supplementing them. I never did, and if I were to get back into rabbits again, I would probably do that, instead of getting those pellets. There's one other thing that I learned about is with rabbits, most people don't realize this, is I was watching some of the people use those water bottles. They
Mm-hmm.
can split. I ended up getting galvanized containers that I put in the rabbits' cages. And yes, they would freeze. And what we would end up doing is taking out a bucket of hot water,
Mm-hmm.
dropping those metal pans down into that hot water bucket, which then it get cool because of the ice,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to put those bowls back in there and fill them up. And the rabbits were able to lick that ice to get water and also get water. And I mean, once we did that, they would literally lap up that water pretty quick, you know? So I ended up getting these little cage bowls, metal cage bowls. They were
Yeah.
galvanized. When they got rusty, I threw them, I'd recycle them. know,
Yeah. A lot of talking about plastic, and I can remember back when most things were either in a metal can or a glass jar. So it's, yeah. The good thing about the glass jars is being able to reuse some of them.
true.
And that's, kind of goes back to that recycle, reuse, repurpose. Even because we get the coffee a lot of times from Sam's, it comes in these extra tall coffee cans, and like the coffee creamer is an extra tall thing. Well, they're like got this molded thing in the side, like a handle, so you can grab a hold of them. It's perfect to use as feed scoops for the chickens and the goats. Just scoop that. I mean, you can use those things for all sorts of stuff. I use them different ones to put like different screws in, different lengths of screws. So it's like I'll have one coffee thing that'll be full of like 2-inch deck screws, and another one I have the 1-inch deck screws, and another one I have like the 3-inch. And because I've seen some where they like you can buy plastic containers to put these things in. And I thought, well, that'd be really neat. But then I thought, well, why would I want to spend the money when I can just use something like those empty coffee things and do the same thing? So that's what I do. And it's just handy doing it like that. And then that's another thing, planning ahead. It's like anytime I go to the lumber yard and having to pick up a few things, it's like I already know in my mind if I'm running low on any kind of deck screw. It's most of what I use. And so it's like if I know I'm getting kind of low, and if I start a project, I hate to have to stop and go to town and buy some more screws and have to come home and then get started again. And so just thinking ahead and going ahead and picking up things like that, extra pound of screws, you're already at the lumber yard. It's already something that you're going to use. So that's like one extra trip into town you're not going to have to make, which is going to save you money because you ain't going to have to spend the gas to go. So always try to think ahead, plan ahead.
I don't know if in everybody's state, but Habitat resale stores,
Mm-hmm.
you can find a lot of things there and stuff like that. I was able to pick up ceramic tile, little squares of ceramic tile that I'm going to be putting on an island that my ex-husband built. And I got the hardy board to put on it also. In doing that, going to those places, you can find where people got too much and they took it there, and you're able to buy that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of states do that, if they have the resale stores for Habitat Humanity. Check it out.
I don't know. I think the Habitat for Humanity, it seemed like there's another one. I can't think of the name of it though. That basically does the same thing where it's like it's building supplies, but it's not like at full cost. Like you said, it's like they order in so many cabinets, so many styles, and after a while, it's like any of them that's left in the big chain stores, they want to clear them out for the newer stuff coming in,
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll end up with like those resale stores with stuff like that. And like she's saying, the kitchen cabinets, and then being able to put a tile top on it, and it's like total cost $50. That's
$50.
that's a DIY. I mean, that's like a big reason to do DIY like that, is to be able to save money. So being able to go into those like Habitat Humanity or the resale stores, or even like the last orthopedic appointment that dear husband had. I had went ahead and I had some bags of stuff because I've been trying to go through stuff, and I had some bags of stuff to get rid of. And so since we were going over there, we don't have a Goodwill anywhere here where we're at. So an hour away where we had to go, there was one. So I was able to drop it off there. Now, the thing about if you donate something like that, a bag of clothes, all right, or tables, I went in and I walked around because I'm looking for like certain kinds of pots and pans and whatnot. They didn't have any. But they have clothes and they had furniture and all this stuff. And I'm sitting there. Some of the furniture they had, I was like, oh, I just wanted it to be able to bring it home and clean it up and refinish it and sell it. Which, if I was in better shape and didn't have already 50 million things to do, I could do that. My dad used to do that, except it was with antiques. He would go to the auctions and pick them up and then refinish them and then sell them. So even though he was working full time, that was like his side hustle. And it seemed like anymore, I don't think they even used to call it that, a side hustle. Well, anymore, it's like you just about have to have a side hustle or two, just to try to make ends meet. But that was one of the things that they did, was refinishing antique furniture. So, and then, some of the ways to save or some of the ways to make money like that, using your sweat equity, is something you have to know about. It's something like with my parents, they know about antiques. They knew this piece of furniture is this, what kind of wood it was, and all this. So they knew what they were doing in that. But the thing is, though, a lot of people have this passion, something that drives them, something that they're just constantly wanting to do. And so if you can do that and figure out a way to be able to maybe make something off of it, or some way to be able to save some money off of it, then that just makes it even better.
So,
being able to using your own, even if you've never done it before. I mean, that's, I had never tiled before. And what did I do when we bought this property? I knew right off the bat, living in the country, I don't want carpet. So first thing we did was pull carpet up and linoleum up. But before we closed on the deal, I was already on YouTube and I was already looking all the information. I was watching videos, trying to get it all together in my head, sorted out, figured out how to lay ceramic tile. And I did it just based off of the things that I watched off of YouTube, and then the reading. I picked up a couple books and read in them. And I just kept watching videos on YouTube until I found the videos that answered the questions that I had. And so that was one way to save money. We was talking earlier about the sweat equity and the fact that you bought a fixer-upper right out the gate. That's
Yes.
one way to save money, is if you're getting a fixer-upper, even if you buy a house and it's just all what they call builder grade, and you want to do some kind of upgrade on it. There's no way that we could have afforded, and I knew this, which is why I did all that research and figuring out how to lay ceramic tile. And I thought, there's no way we can afford to pay somebody to do this. It would have cost us thousands to have somebody come lay this tile. And so I just decided, if I want it, the only way I can afford to have it is for me to learn how to do it myself. Then that's what I did. That's what I'm going to do. And that's just been, but that's kind of I guess what my parents kind of ingrained in us at kids too, is, just get out there and do it. Just try. The only thing that's going to happen is, well, like so many times in my life, failure. Well, you're going to learn things from those failures, and being able to turn around and take the lessons that you learn, you become successful. And so that's just the way I feel about it. It's just, like I said, that's just something they just kind of tried to instill in us, is just to be able to just do it, just don't give up, keep trying. And so I was like, hey, if that's the only way I can afford to have tile in my house, then I'm going to be down on my hands and knees and I'm going to figure out how to do it. And I did. So, and I must have done something right, because tile I laid over 20 years ago still looks like the day I laid it. I need to clean the grout lines at this point again, but
Anyway, I worked for a company that had real estate property that they rented. I learned how to lay, it's called VCT tile, that you have to put the glue down, wait for it to flash, and lay that tile down. I learned how to do that. I learned how to change out the valve out of a toilet tank.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I know how to do that. I know how to change faucets on my kitchen. I don't have to have a plumber come here.
Right.
You know,
And
some things I do, but some things I don't.
right. Well,
You know,
speaking of plumber, this
it is
cold spell
expensive.
we just had, the lady that I go to get my nails, she was like in a panic because they didn't know that you have to unhook your hoses. So they left the hose hooked up to the faucet on their house, so it froze. The whole thing froze. And I'm sitting there, and she's like, listening. I can't help but hear in the conversations that she's having with these different plumbers, and it's like the cheapest quote she got was $450. I heard her take one quote from a guy for $1,000 just for them to come and replace where that faucet where her hose had froze to it. So yeah, I mean that's if you can learn simple fixes like that and be able to do anything that you can learn, and be able to
We had
just do it yourself instead of having to pay somebody else to do it.
our driveway is asphalt now, and we saw this water running down by the road, and I'm like, where is this water coming from? And our meter was just going crazy. So I have my own shut off thing to be able to turn my water off. We had to run a new water line instead of up the asphalt. We had to put a new sewer line in because they had used the clay tile. So this house that I live in, we had to replace it with the plastic, and we ended up running our water line instead of going up the driveway. We
Mm-hmm.
took it across over the sewer, at an angle, over to where it's a crawl space under there. So we were able to go underneath and bring it in there and put a water spigot on the side of our house over here, and be able to have water outside. That valve has now gone bad, which was a freeze one, uh, because of it being a crawl space. It got cold under there.
Oh yeah.
So we had to literally cut that off and just rejoin it and turn that section off, and fix the I think they used PEX. Yes, it was PEX. So we
Yeah.
ran that water line up to where it was to the hot water heater. It was,
Hello, Southwest Living with Val. It's good to see you.
hi.
Linda Peterson said something. She picks up mattress pads for stuffing for quilts. Just wash and dry and keep them for quilts. You talking about like the mattress pad that you put on the bed? Are you using them for
Yes,
like the stuffing in between the quilts material?
stuffing it in between the quilts.
Yes. Oh, I never would have thought about that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, those Milk and Honey Heritage Farms talking about the self-stick linoleum squares at the dollar store.
Yep.
We did that one time. Yeah.
I have some that are self-sticking, that are 18 by 18 tiles that we're putting down on the floor here. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
in the sticking kind. So yeah, we're changing from that VCT tile that popped up. We've taken it up, and we're putting the laminate sticking
Yeah.
ones down. And they're big. They're 18 by 18. That I was able to pick up somewhere.
I tell you, at this point, I wish it wasn't so hard to get ceramic tile up. Because after 21 years, it would be kind of nice if I could have a different tile in the main part of the house. But, it saved money. I knew it was going to hold up for years, that it should hold up for years. And it has definitely held true to that. So,
And
yeah.
you
And
can
that's, now if somebody that's just buying a house to flip, they're not going to care the fact that it's going to last for years, but you know,
you can even buy flat sheets, and instead of buying backing, like muslin for putting on
uh-huh.
your quilts, you can use
I wonder
a
about
sheet,
that.
using a
I wonder
flat sheet
about
to
that.
do it.
I tell you why I wondered about that, because I've got extra fabric, and my mother bought me this thing that you put it in to do the stitching or whatever. I don't know anything about quilting. I thought, well, if I get bored one day, I might sit and cut out some squares and stitch them together or something and make a blanket. I don't know. I kind of did the same thing. I guess I have too many interests because, like, we was talking about with the bags of yarn earlier. There's people that will get started in a hobby like that, and then they decide for whatever reason, they don't like it. They don't want to they're just going to get rid of it. And so you can find deals like that. I've got a container now that's maybe like 14 inches by, I don't know, foot tall or so, foot wide. And it's full of embroidery threads, because I had decided that I was going to try that too. And so I had picked up a bunch it was a deal. It was a deal. There was somebody on Marketplace that had a bunch of the embroidery floss, still brand new, had the little wrap on them and stuff. And I went and got like the whole lot for like $10. And those little embroidery threads, it's like, they don't cost that much, but the quantity of how many there were, it saved money. But I tried a little bit, and I decided I'm just not into embroidery apparently. So if you know anybody that's looking for some embroidery stuff, the floss, and I've even got a book that has like little patterns you can iron on the fabric to do the embroidery. I just decided if I was going to spend time with my hands doing something, I was going to be crocheting, because the embroidery is like,
I have done embroidering. The favorite one I like is cross stitch, not the little cross stitch, but just cross stitch, because it's so fast and easy, and you're able to get things done a little faster. I have a quilt that I embroidered. It's called the Lone Star pattern, that I cross stitched that, and then I bought it wasn't a real good quilting frame, but I was able to find a quilting frame that someone had made, and the Amish that live close to me were able to help me put it on that frame. And in 11 months, I have a quilt that I quilted, embroidered, and I didn't do the binding, but someone else did that for me.
Yeah.
But I hand quilted it. It took me 11 months. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
Little tiny rocks clog the filter to the washing machine. Yeah, that was something. Washing machine we bought years ago. The owner's manual on it, one of the pages, it had like this exploded view, what they call it, exploded view of all the end part, all the parts on it and stuff. I hung on to that because I was like, oh yeah, so yeah, I've been in the back of washing machines too.
Mine has this door.
I mean, sometimes sometimes it can be just a simple fix, and if you can sit and mess with something and figure it out yourself and not have to go buy something new to replace it or pay somebody to come fix something, then yeah, that's
on the front of my front loaders, there's this door there that has this hose that you drain it, and there's this basket in there that you clean out where the filter is. I usually do that once a month, draining that thing. And
yeah, the front load.
Yes,
I need to do that with ours.
That quilt does mean a lot to me, because it was when I was recovering from surgery that I did that quilt, and then I quilted it at my mother's home when my father passed away in 2006. So I've had that quilt that long. I started it and finished it in that same year. And I have, I don't have children, so I don't know who's going to get it in my family, but there'll be someone, I'm guessing.
Yeah, just, not too long ago when I went to a Goodwill store, and I watched for stuff like that, because every once in a while you'll see like a crochet blanket or a quilt or something in them stores, because if somebody passes away or something and the family's just cleaning out their house, they just gather up stuff and then take. This is one of the things I was going to say earlier. When you take a bag of clothes or something to Goodwill and you donate it to them, you can get a receipt from them. And then that's actual deduction off your taxes at the end of the year. So if you take and you donate like a bag of clothes and you go, they give you a receipt. Now, this last time they told me just fill it out. And I was like, well, there's like coats and jeans and stuff, $50 worth of stuff. It was like, but we took like half a dozen bags full of stuff. And so I just turn around and stick that in the tax stuff. And so it's actually considered a tax deductible donation. So if that saves you $1 or $2 from having to pay in something, then use that as a deduction. Any 501c that you make a donation to is a deduction off your taxes.
Yeah, that you can make skirts out of men's ties.
I seen one of those years ago. I remember that. Because I thought, how on earth? But yeah. Well, and talking about making stuff, I mean, there's one of the people I follow on TikTok. Oh my gosh, what she's doing is she is crocheting her clothes with embroidery floss.
What?
Yes. And
Wow.
I mean, she's making some nice looking stuff. I'm like, man, that'd kill my eyes. But I mean, it's taken her a lot of time to do it. She's got some neat looking stuff she's made for herself. Just crocheting with embroidery floss. It's like, I wanted to be able to crochet some doilies. It's too much strain on my eyes. I can't do it. So yeah, just, anyway, well, like the people that eat out, there's certain days that certain restaurants will have specials. Like we have a taco place in town that every day of the week, Monday through Friday, there's one of their things that's on special. And so it's like you can get that meal and a drink for less than it would be to just get something else. So if you just watch for stuff like that sometimes too, that helps. And the same thing with KFC. It used to be Monday was you got a leg and thigh and potatoes and gravy and a biscuit for $1.99. I mean, you can't hardly beat that. And then it's like on Wednesdays, you could get the chicken fried steak with the potatoes and gravy and a roll for the $1.99. But when the price of everything went up, they cut out one of them, but they still do one of the others. I don't remember which is which. It's been a long time since we had KFC. But so yeah, if you watch stuff like that, then
oh,
it's like at
typing
Taco
too
Bell,
fast.
They have on their menu. It's like if you're looking at their deals or whatever, on their main menu. Well, if you look off over to the side, they've got little burritos and stuff that you can get for like $1 to $3 off of that menu. You can actually eat cheaper off of that little menu than you can ordering one of their specials off the main menu. So it's just, some of the ways to save money is not only just thinking outside of the box by like I did with the animals, learning how to give my own vaccination, the routine vaccinations and whatnot. Being able to take and stretch things out, in order to be able to save too. Local.
So true. It's
tie. She's talking about men's ties. Okay.
Men's ties.
Yeah. And that's another thing too. She's talking about looking for them on a forum. Yeah, there's different times that people advertise things like that. And getting back to the quilting stuff, people are like, well, you got to have fabric. Well, sometimes if you watch, you can find some really neat fabric that's like clothes that people are just getting rid of, So take that shirt, cotton shirt that's the right fabric, and use it. Cut it up into your squares like they did with the ties.
That's my brother back there. I have no idea what he's doing.
And then I've seen somebody take and make quilts. Who was it? Was it Butler Family Farm? I think it was Susan. One of the lives I noticed that they did, she had this quilt back behind her, and what it was old blue jeans that somebody had taken and cut the square fabrics out and made a quilt out of the blue jeans. I've seen somebody take like the top half of the blue jeans, they cut the legs off and sew that all together and then make a purse out of it. Then you get the pockets and then the inside. So it's just different ways, recycle, reuse, repurpose.
For sure.
Can you think of any other things like that, Rebecca?
Yes, there was one that I was thinking about. I have a freezer that quit working. It's an upright.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to use that and left the door on. What I have is a cable around it that I lock. It has antifreeze in there. It's got windshield washer fluid in there. It's got oil in there. I have some old STP oil treatment that my dad used that is sitting in there for me to be able to put into my vehicle, once I get another vehicle. Just putting that STP oil treatment in there can make your oil a little bit better to keep your engine running a little bit longer. So I have that freezer sitting out there, and it's got a cable around it that's locked so that people can't get in there. Finding
You're
things
using
on
it like
crates.
you're using it like a safe space to be able to put your supplies and stuff in.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then of course I have a cabinet that used to belong to the military that is sitting out on my carport that has different things in there that I'm able to use when I do have a vehicle, that has storage. The ratchet straps are out there, so all I've got to do is grab a ratchet strap to be able to fasten something down, makes it nice. So I bought that cabinet, and it has drawers that you pull out. I've got some hitches that I'm probably going to put on Facebook Marketplace to sell because I don't have a truck anymore. Not that I may not get something that needs that hitch. It's kind of wasted space now. I need to let them
Right.
go. I need to
Right.
let them go and let someone else that could use it, that don't
Right.
don't have that money, to be able to use that.
Yeah.
My brother wants to. There you go.
Milk and Honey Heritage Farms talk about making a dress with squares of jeans for a granddaughter and then making aprons. I remember years ago seeing an apron somebody had made out of blue jeans,
Wow.
and I thought that was the neatest looking thing.
Even
Hello,
the people in
Sean.
the chat are letting us know things.
Yeah.
Hi, Sean.
And this is exactly what I was hoping for, was just, the ideas just keep rolling. I remember years and years ago, first starting out, it was like the staple of our diet was ramen noodles and mac and cheese. And we had meat once a week. I about died one time when I woke up, and my oldest daughter, who was only like a couple of years old, had woke up and got in the refrigerator, and I had a chicken in there for dinner, and she had got it out and had opened it up and was holding it like a doll, carrying it around with the dogs on her heels licking at that chicken. I was like, well, there goes dinner.
Oh, wow.
What do you do? I was like, oh, but yeah.
Yeah, I kind of, when I'm really working on something, because my brother has autism, he went and took the cans of tuna and just ate the cans of tuna. And I'm like looking at my shelf that I have, and I'm like, where's the tuna? I want to make tuna salad. And he had eaten them all. Well, I told him, I says, the next time I'm at Aldi's, you're buying 12 cans of tuna. Please don't touch. It was like, whoa.
I had it with peas.
You know, it was like, hey, I didn't get any of them.
I had it with peas and my miracle, my
I
white
understand.
salad dressing for lunch.
I understand, brother. But yeah, so he had to. I bought 12 cans, so we have tuna again.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah,
Hi, baby.
it's
All right.
it's been so great,
Oh
but
gosh,
yeah,
we did not
it's now over 2 hours.
2 hours.
We're having fun today.
Sean was talking about how blessed he is to have a warm hat to wear. Yeah.
Yes. You know, I had this feeling when I did that giveaway of those 30 hats that the people that got them were really going to need them. You know? It's like, yes, I know my brother thought it was yummy, but one can of tuna should be able to feed two people. And he ate, I don't know how much he ate, but it was all gone. I love my brother. I do. But it's like, wow. You know, and of course at the pantry I go to, we get these cans that are like, I guess they're about that big around, that are beef and pork. You know, and I saved them up, you know, figuring, okay, what do I do with these things? You know, and there was one time that I took the pork and I put it in a skillet and fried it up, you know, where it got crispy, and I made gravy with it, you know, and there's
Belt Loop.
There's Belt
Will you
Loop.
turn on the light?
You can, brother. I just don't know what's going to happen with this. Yes, he loves to call me the yarn ninja. I'm going to turn this light off. There we go.
Ah, okay, made the camera go crazy for a second there.
Yes, Marie was one of the first people that got a hat from me. You got a scarf too, right?
Mm-mm.
Just a hat. Okay. There was someone that I made a hat and scarf for. I don't know why this camera keeps flashing. I have no clue. You know, it's I have when we were going to Sam's Club, I bought this thing that sits on our porch that I've got to get the I like the lettuce that's kind of mixed. And I put it in this planter that I have on my porch. And I also do breakfast radishes in there also. You know, and having those, it makes it nice. Because
baby
of the dog,
spinach grows pretty quick, and it's
spinach
good too.
does?
Yeah, the baby spinach.
Okay. I guess I could put some spinach in there because spinach really isn't a lettuce. I found that out.
Yeah,
I thought
like the leaves are about that big, I guess. Whenever you pull them.
Yeah.
I grew some for a while when I was still doing what they call protein shakes. I don't really like to eat first thing in the morning, and so like doing a protein shake like that, and I'd put the baby spinach in it and vanilla protein powder.
Come on.
It was good. Oh yeah, it's not too long. It's not going to be. I'm gonna have to wrap it up. I'm like Milk and Honey Heritage Farms here. They gotta go run and feed animals. I don't have
it's
to.
It's 4 o'clock here. Fry the
All right.
At the farmer's market, I get these huge radishes. They start growing them in October.
Wow.
And I get these huge radishes that are like, they look like watermelons. They are purple ones, you know, king purple ones. And instead of using potatoes, I use the radishes in with my roast. You know, that's what I started using those big radishes for. And they're so good.
Yeah, I like the radishes. Being able to just go out there, I just pull them out of the ground and like knock the dirt off and eat them.
Just eat them.
Nobody, I mean, I don't think anybody else did. Now, we did make some salads, and I put some radish, cut them up, put in there radish and beet both in the salad, a couple salads that we made last year. Because I was trying those. I was hoping to grow enough beets to can some beets. Because beets are good blood builders, is what I've always heard. But anyway, I think I'm going to wrap this up because we're at like 2 hours and 19 minutes. And I don't know if we'll do this again as far as like this topic. We may decide on a different topic. Who knows? Just sit and chat and hang out for a little bit.
For sure.
But I hope everybody is staying warm out there. I know we've had a few warm days, and we're not really supposed to get cold again for a few more days. How about y'all, Rebecca?
I'm not sure. I really don't look at the weather. My brother has just turned on his. You can see this little computer back here. It's for people that can't see very well. You can touch a thing where it says weather, and what our weather's going to be.
Clouds for the next few days.
We're going to be 57, 51, 50, 53, and 54.
See, that's like perfect weather for me. I can be outside doing stuff, not have bees coming at me.
So I'm kind of trying to figure out, when do I want to plant, once I get my lettuce, when should I plant them out in that planter that's on the porch? I don't know when my last frost is. I'm in zone 6A.
6A.
Glenda says first March be a grand. April?
In April. Yeah, I think it's for us. We're in like 7. They just changed the zones too. I may be considered 8 now. I don't know. We were 7B, which I've got some hoops. My raised beds. I got it to where I can like put the things over them because I'm fixing to get out there and get to work. But I got these hoops so that way. Because there was a couple times it's like, oh, I've already got my plants transplanted out there, and here comes a frost, and you're having to run out there and put buckets over plants and sheets and everything else, trying to protect them from a frost that comes in when you didn't expect it.
When is
so? Yeah, our last frost is about in like first or second week of April.
Medium length growing season. Most vegetable varieties will have no problem maturing before your first frost date. With a last frost date of May 1st and first frost date of November 1st street.
It says May 1st.
Yeah.
That's what it said. And I'm like, whoa. Because I would think that probably I would plant them last week in April, because I do know that lettuce is a cold weather crop. I know that.
Yeah, lettuce and spinach. Carrots,
lettuce, spinach, peas.
You
know,
collard,
and
cabbage.
6A.
But yeah, maybe that's what we'll talk about next time we do this. We'll talk about stuff.
Talk about gardening,
especially if you're like, already got it pretty well set up, because you can spend some money to get a garden set up.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I want to do those. I've got those lick barrels, and our Arms Family Homestead did these wicking tubs. The wicking tubs.
Yeah.
I want to set some of those wicking tubs up and go back to his video and get those wicking tubs up on my porch.
Yeah, gardening with Leon was where he learned how to do that. Yes. That's. Are you going to try to go to the Okie Expo?
No, I'm not.
I know gardening with Leon is supposed to be there at this year's expo.
I wish I could. I don't even have a vehicle to get to the one in April. Yeah. I'm still trying to find a vehicle to buy.
Right. I would
so that we can get to the one in Oklahoma.
Right. I'm hopefully between now and then you'll have something already done. You
I
know,
hope so. I really do.
but we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up and call it a day. I think. Well, at least call it a day for YouTube.
For YouTube, yes.
But yeah, this would be one way that people could save some money is set up, get their channels made and be able to, instead of like making long distance phone calls, just get on a live chat with somebody. I didn't say that.
I don't have a lot of light that comes in this house, and I was saying on one person's thing that they did a video on uh, doing the those little seed those pods is doing that kind of gardening here in my house where there's the grow lights, and I was wondering what's the
Oh, yeah.
cost of those, and
Well, I
and things
got
like that.
lucky. My grow lights, a lot of people for just starting seedlings will use, thank you, Linda. They'll use fluorescent lights. You can get
Okay.
them. Like I know Roots and Refuge a couple of years ago. I don't know that she still does this now. That since they've moved and she's got a bigger setup, but used to, it was like those metal shelves on wheels and put a shop light fluorescent bulb, and then the shelf would be like this high above the seed cups. So that way, when they first start coming up, but those fluorescent bulbs are not strong enough light to like grow something to full maturity, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Now I got lucky because somebody that was growing cannabis and had those lights, the high dollar lights, and I got them for like half of what it would have cost me. Now I was going to try it this winter, but then things got messed up. I want to try to grow a determinate tomato plant in here using one of those lights. I just want to see if I can do it. And I was going to do it this winter, and then things happened and I didn't get it done. So, but I thought that would be kind of cool, being able to just have, can you imagine fresh tomatoes, your own fresh homegrown tomatoes in like January instead of the grocery store bought ones that have no taste to them?
That would be awesome.
I mean, I'm like, huh. But I was going to research which tomato, because like I said, it has to be determinate. It's going to have to be a determinate tomato, one that doesn't vine out and get humongous on me. But yeah, I've got my heat pads ready. I've just got to get my seed trays and stuff together and get tomatoes and peppers and stuff planted, because they take the longest to get big to be ready to put out in the garden. Hello, Beverly. You caught us right at the tail end. We was fixing
Tail
to
end of this.
Yeah.
Everybody, please share this out so that other people can watch this live today, because
Yes,
there's a lot of information. There's a lot of information in here that can help a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
anybody that's watching, watching the replay, even, comment, leave us your ideas for saving money too. Any way that you can save money or cut costs. The floor cleaner, I just remembered this. The clearance aisle, I found that floor cleaner that's like $20 for a jug of it. They had 2 jugs of it over there in clearance for $12. So I snatched them up. I was like, I needed more floor cleaner and talk about good time, and I just happened to go down that clearance aisle, and there it was. So yeah, clearance sales, auctions, even eBay, things like that, yard sales. Did I say yard sales? Different ways to save money.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's going to be it for now. And if any of y'all have any other suggestions for saving money, like I said, just leave us some comments, and we'll be watching for those. And I appreciate everybody that has come in, and I appreciate you coming up and helping me out, Rebecca.
You're welcome.
And we're just going to say bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.